I love that noise, just from the line in the water when a fish is just going sideways on you. What's up guys, welcome back to another video. This one, a practice video. It's a little bit different than any other video I've ever posted. We had some really extreme conditions here on Lake Fork, but I wanted to walk you guys through how I approach this event. Really unique event, pre-spawn, the lake's 6 feet low, which really throws a lot of anglers for a loop, and you're fishing fairly featureless areas in a giant stump flat. So let's get into the video. I'll give you guys a breakdown of how I did it. It is pouring. So to start off, you can obviously see as we're starting practice, it's incredibly warm, but a big front's moving through. So like as I'm getting ready to leave for the boat ramp that morning, there's a squall line of, I wouldn't say severe thunderstorms, but heavy rain with some lightning coming through. And instantly as practice starts, we've got a major weather change.
And I gotta somehow get to my boat, unplug my charger in the pouring rain, and then get to my truck over there.
Also, my rain suit is in my boat there.
I'm gonna get soaked. This is what we call a turd floater. And of course, my rain suit's in the boat. Okay, we made it to the truck.
There's that squall line.
This little line blows through. We should be all right here.
It wasn't a thick line, but it was just that front with some really heavy
I've got a hoodie
rain.
and a rain suit on. I'm borderline hot. By the time I pull out, it's gonna be 30 something degrees and blowing out of the north, which is just wild to me. Welcome to the life of a pro bass fisherman. We gotta see it all. Not many days do you start hot and end cold, but that's what we're gonna have today.
Well, I kind of summed it up there in the video. I didn't realize how cold I was gonna be. Like I saw the weather forecast, but I was so hot then and there. I'm like, I'm overdressed for this. And really till about 11 o'clock, I had thermals on, really bundled up. I was sweating. The one place I didn't bundle up was my shoes. And I really paid the price for that later in the day. I couldn't believe how cold my feet were. And then I looked at my truck when I got in it later in the day and it said 35 degrees.
All right, practice is a go. We're at a special place today. It is very, very low and the bass are very, very big. Lake Fork, I mean, this is a big bass capital of the world. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's probably been more 10-pound bass caught out of Lake Fork in the last 30 years than any other lake in the US. All right, bass forecast rating today is a 4.5. Not bad, it's a fair rating. Major feeding times between 12:30 and 2:30. And yeah, we got us a big front blowing, and it's actually already going out of the west-northwest, which is before, literally just, I mean, as I'm doing this, started gusting out of the west-northwest. So the front is here. We're about to see some temperatures starting to drop. And if you'll notice, so the front hits today. We're gonna get cold weather this afternoon. It's gonna be in the 30s when I get off the water. But you'll notice a 1.6 tomorrow. That's when the fish are really going to start to feel that water temperature change. It's going to be 25 tonight. That's why the rating is so low tomorrow. It's going to be warm again Saturday, but the fish will not feel that yet. The water temp will not have begun to rise. And you'll see Sunday, Monday, as we, you know, as the actual core temp of the lake begins to rise, you'll see the bass forecast rating pick back up. I expect them to be biting today if you get around them though.
So that was a pretty good depiction of how fish react in a cold front. Usually the worst weather day is the day the front hits. However, those conditions, you know, the wind, cloud cover, things like that, tend to make fish feed. I mean, they're a apex predator. They like to use those low light situations, any wind current, to feed. Even though it got really cold that day, the air temp was frigid, the water was still in the mid-50s. It really hadn't started to set in water temp wise. And that's why the days that the front hits are so good, and why post-frontal days are so bad, because you've had those cold weather nights and just brutal conditions. And those nights where you get down in the 20s, that's when your water temp really takes a plummet. And so post-frontal conditions, the real reason it's so tough is it takes a day or two for that cold water temp to set in, because water takes a little bit of time to get cold, takes a little bit of time to get warm.
First spot, no bites. It was a lot deeper here though than I really want to fish this week. bite. Man, that fish was sitting high, and it's a big one. Oh, he pulled off. Golly. It's like a 6-pounder.
Looking back at that, that was probably bigger than 6 pounds. After I've caught a few fish, it's probably more like an 8-pounder. But one thing to notice, in this entire frame, you see probably 100 stumps. That fish is on a horizontal piece of cover. So if you're fishing, especially in the pre-spawn time, fish are, you know, kind of in that staging zone, pre-spawn, they like to suspend. And when you've got a field of stumps with a lot of vertical cover, one piece of horizontal cover, very key. That's something I figured out this week. So just got to stop and make note of that. Any irregularity is a good way to catch a bass. I haven't fished this spot yet. I'm looking forward to fishing that tomorrow.
Spinnerbait fish. Love how you come to a place and it's not a very big one. It's like probably like a 212 or something. Just fishing this little drain. It's nothing real special. With this low water, you know, these fish kind of don't have a whole lot of options. I'm trying to simplify it by just fishing these drains, hoping that with these cold fronts, you know, it's freezing now, these fish will be pulled into here. And I've seen a lot of fish getting a few bites, but I'm trying to find that one drain that's just loaded up, and I have not found it yet. I hope it's out there somewhere for me. I know somebody's gonna find it. I'm gonna take a weight point right there. There's another one. Not a fluke bite. It's a little better one though. I mean, it's close to 4. Okay. All right, we got a drain with some fish in there. You know, always when we're looking at these drains, you see we got some smaller stumps over here, and you've got some bigger ones right through here. The bigger trees, I mean, they had more water back in the day. That's what that is. And so if you're looking at a big old stump flat, if you look for the bigger stumps, you're gonna find your deeper ditches and drains.
So that clip right there, I was talking about drains and, you know, especially in Texas, but it doesn't matter where you are. Drains are very important. And all I mean by a drain is just a deeper trough where, obviously I'm fishing a reservoir that was built. Before the lake was built, this was a water flow point. It was a ditch or drain, or when rain fell, this is where it all funneled to. And what it'll do is it'll dig out a deeper pathway. And also with that, where that water drains, there's more water for the roots of trees. The trees get bigger. They've got gnarlier root systems. And it's just a great pathway. In a place like Lake Fork, it's fairly featureless. Like, it's a lot of sand, dirt, not much rock. So these drains are some of the only hard contour lines you'll see. So, and it doesn't have to be drastic. Like this drain in particular, it's 3.5 feet in the base of the drain. The edges are 2 feet. You know, so a 1.5 foot contour change. The contour changes. It's all relative, right? It just takes a little bit of a change, and it's just a pathway for these fish. Well, this drain specifically leads in to a giant spawning flat, a place that's going to warm up fast, a nursery for these bass. And then you add in the low water here. Any fish that would want to be shallow on this flat, even in the wintertime, there's going to be fish that stick shallow. They can no longer do that. There's no cover up there. This is the only cover they have to get to. So it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. While fishing's tough out here, I think fishing's a lot better right now than it would be if it was full, because of situations like this. It kind of congregates the fish, makes them a little bit more predictable.
All right, no more throwing here. Probably shouldn't have thrown here again, but I had to. It's been too cold of a day. It's weird, this fish is warm. Water temp's like 54 here. Air temp's like 40. So I'm cold.
That was in that same drain there. Hindsight, I probably shouldn't have thrown there. I'd already had, I think I caught 2 and missed 1. But I'm a fisherman, I like to catch fish, and so it had been a hard day, and I just wanted to see what was there. Also, I knew I had several days till I could fish it, I thought other anglers would probably be fishing it as well. So what does it hurt for me to catch one more? A lot of things are going to change, like I said, with that cold front. And in my mind, the reason I didn't fish that the first day of the tournament, or don't plan to, is because it's going to be so cold, and that drain in particular is so shallow. However, later in the event, as it starts to warm up, I figure those fish are going to pull out of that drain to deeper water and probably migrate back up as the water warms, and that's what we've got. So I will be fishing that, but I'll be saving it for later in the event.
Uh-oh, this is big.
I love that noise, just from the line in the water when a fish is just going sideways on you.
That's a nice one.
Fish is probably pushing 5
Well, when I
pounds.
hooked that fish, I was like, I mean, that's 4.5 pounds. Oh, that was gonna be a great big giant one.
So one thing you got to notice too, I was talking about irregularities about the horizontal cover. Look at the size of the stump that fish came off of. Great big giant stump. It's going to have a bigger root system. Then again, it's probably going to be in a little bit deeper trough. If you look at all the timber around that, much smaller. That fish came off of the big stump. And this week especially, if you come to a big stump like that, you better make multiple casts, because almost every fish I've caught this week has come off of some sort of key piece of cover, be it a horizontal lay down piece of structure or just one of those great big stumps you couldn't even wrap your arms around.
All right, what's up, guys? Might look a little bit different. We're actually at the end of day 2 of practice. Made a mistake, didn't charge my portable battery, and so I had to charge it in the boat, but we're here. So a little rundown of what today has brought for us. I've kind of tried some more off the wall stuff. Haven't found anything real good. However, I've got 2 key areas. They're fairly community hole areas that have got some fish, this one included. So what you have here is you've got a giant flat, a huge flat, and with the water being low, normally the fish that live out on this flat have been forced to go to what little deep water they have back here, and that would be the creek channel. And it's not very deep. I mean, it's only 4 feet, but deep is a relative term, and 4 feet is the deepest they've got, and so that's where they are. There's one. I don't know if it's big or not. Yeah, it's a good one. Lake Fork special. Alrighty, a little flat side. So yesterday, you'll notice I was throwing a spinnerbait. We had really bad, windy, nasty conditions. I was able to catch a few fish on that. He was hooked good, actually. Today, I've noticed a lot of fish following a spinnerbait or even running away from it. Therefore, switched over to a flat side. All right, we got to get out of here because there are fish in here. No sense in catching more than we have to.
What you'll see in this clip, I'm still fishing a drain. One thing to know, this time of year especially, drains make the world go round. These fish are following these drains in. They're pre-spawn. They're not really thinking about spawning yet, but that's what's in their mind as they're migrating back. So for a rule of thumb, pre-spawn they follow drains in, post-spawn they follow points out. Just a little bit of a thought there. And you'll notice I caught this fish on a flat-sided crankbait. Cold water, we're in that post-frontal time now. You can see there's no wind. Really, really tough time to fish. And I got in some areas where I noticed I could see some fish on live scope. I could see them even follow my spinnerbait, but they just wouldn't commit. And a flat-sided crankbait is one of the baits, there's really not too cold of a time to throw flat side. In those really tough conditions, it can still get a bite. It's a silent crankbait, really, really subtle side-to-side vibration, tight wobble, very light bait. It's hard to throw, so you got to throw it on a light line, but just something that can get a bite in really, really tough conditions. So that's worth keeping in mind. But however, a lot of times those cold weather conditions and those post-frontal conditions will, like I said, dump them to that deeper water. And remember, deep is a relative term, the deepest water they can get to easily, and can actually make ditch fishing even better, because as they get back in these ditches, when it gets warm, they might tend to meander on out to a shallow stump to really get some of that warmth. But when it gets cold, it actually wants to push them back into those drains, because while 4 feet may not sound deep, it's going to be a few degrees warmer down on the bottom of that drain than it is, you know, in 2 feet up on the side. So a lot of times you'll see fish actually sit down in the base of a trough. So something to keep in mind.
Well guys, that's going to do it for practice for me. I am running out of time. I got to be back to the ramp by 6 o'clock. It's now 5:31. It's going to take me all of those 31 minutes to get back. You know, I'm gonna have a couple things going for me. I've got a spinnerbait bite that's okay. I've got a flat side bite that I'm kind of excited about. And then, you know, in those same areas, I can always slow down, flip, maybe even pitch a heavy line drop shot rig around. So it's time to go do tackle and get us a game plan for day number 1. Thank you guys for sticking with me. Derby footage starts right now.
So I completely lied to you. Derby video is not going to start right now. This is going to conclude my practice video, but I think there were some really valuable tips, seeing these weather changes, how fish react, and in the pre-spawn time can be one of the hardest times to get a bite, but if you'll simplify it, think ditches and drains, those make the world go round. It's a great time to catch a really, really big one. There's going to be some really big fish caught this week, and I'm excited for what's in store. It's Lake Fork, baby.